Hello and welcome, everyone. On July 1st, astronomers discovered the world's third known interstellar object. It's now named 3I Atlas, and it's blasting through our solar system at a record setting 150,000 miles an hour. That's more than twice Earth's speed in orbit around the sun. So we can't see it very well yet, and most astronomers think it's a comet from another solar system. But maybe not surprisingly, some astronomers have now suggested it might be an alien probe. And I am so happy to be here with Dr. Sara Webb, who is an astrophysicist and science communicator at Swinburne University of Technology in Melbourne, Australia. Sara, hello, welcome.
Hello, thank you for having me.
We're so glad you could make it. So, Sara, you've just published an article in the
Yes,
conversation about 3I Atlas as a possible alien probe and about how tough it would be to prove the existence of an object like that.
yeah,
Uh, but before we get to that, can we go back for just a minute? And how and when did astronomers first spot 3I Atlas?
yeah. So this object was only spotted less than a month ago. So on the 1st of July, it was through an automated alert system called Atlas. Now, these are three different locations of telescopes that are looking for asteroids that could potentially be hazardous to us. So they're an incredibly important network of telescopes, and they're looking for objects just like this that are moving across the sky that are not stars, galaxies that should be fairly fixed in location. And so when they detected this, it instantly pinged their alert system to say, excellent, we've got an object and it's on the move. And then all of a sudden, as the data started to come in, they were able to calculate an initial orbit determination. So it's just a fancy way of saying how fast is this thing moving and where is it going? And from those calculations, it revealed that this object is likely moving at over 245,000 kilometers an hour, which is just a number that I don't think our brains can really comprehend just how fast that is. And that number is really important because it breaks the speed limit, if you will, for our solar system. It's too fast. It's greater than the escape velocity, meaning that it didn't come from us. It's not a comet from our own solar system. It's not an asteroid from our own solar system. It's just a visitor passing through, saying hello for a very brief moment, and then going on its merry way.
Okay, uh, so it's going very fast,
Mhm.
and that's one reason that people knew that it was not from this solar system. But its trajectory is one reason that some astronomers think that it may not be a natural object, that it may be an artificial object from an extraterrestrial civilization. So let's take a look at this paper.
Yes.
So this paper has not been peer reviewed yet,
Mm-mm.
but it is up on archive, and it suggests the possibility of 3I Atlas as an alien probe. So what do you say, Sara? What do you think?
It is a really interesting paper. It is on the archive, completely open and free for anyone to read. And I think what is interesting is Abraham Loeb, or Avi Loeb, has a really interesting history and group that works on theoreticals and hypotheticals of what ifs in the universe. And they often get taken out of context because you can see a headline like this, and the media might see it and go, oh my goodness, well, an astrophysicist from Harvard, no less, has said it could be an alien probe, therefore it is, which necessarily isn't the case most of the time. In this paper, the authors actually say that we don't ascribe to all of these theories, but it's just a thought process. And I quite enjoy the theoretical what if. So what they break down is a few key things. One is that this object is really big. Well, we think it's really big. We're still trying to determine exactly how large it is, but it's likely up to 20 kilometers across. So that's quite large compared to most objects that we tend to see that are interstellar. So we've had two previous ones, the most famous, of course, being Oumuamua, that passed through the cigar-shaped asteroid or comet. The other thing that they highlight as being curious or very interesting is its trajectory or its orbit through our solar system, because it comes quite close with three planets. So it comes quite close with a gas giant and two rocky planets. Now, this is, of course, probability has that this could, in theory, happen. At any chance, you could have something come in at any object, but what at any direction, sorry. But what they calculate is like, what is the probability of this actually being so close to, say, Jupiter, Mars, and then also Venus, I believe, was the other one that they did the calculation for. And you can see on this diagram here that it's not quite coming too close to the Earth. It's just kind of skimming between us and Mars on its merry way through. And so that's one thing that they talk about a little bit as a curiosity.
So
They
in other
also
words, if it were an alien probe, the idea is that maybe it was intentionally sent close to Mars?
potentially, that is one of the theories that they kind of break down. They also break down that this trajectory that we can see here, this one that we've calculated and predicted at the moment, has the possibility that, say, very hypothetical, if this was something that could, say, slow down or maneuver itself, has propulsion on board, going in this path, you could slow yourself down enough to then loop back around and rendezvous with the Earth. So you could swing around and essentially come and connect with the Earth. Now, we do not think that is going to happen, but the interesting thing is that modeling, there's certain maneuvers that could be made that could mean that would happen in March 2026, so next year. But we're at the point, yeah, we're at the point though that we should have seen maneuvers from this object now and in the next couple of weeks, which we haven't. And so again, it's a really interesting hypothetical and thought process. And the bit that really makes me curious as an astronomer is how would we actually determine if something was artificial, whether it was intentionally artificial or a probe like what we've sent out. We've sent the Voyager probes, we've got the Pioneer probes, we've got New Horizons, we've got probes that humans have lovingly built and sent to explore the cosmos that will no longer be in our solar system, that have left completely, and they will one day stumble across other alien worlds by accident, complete accident. We'll have no understanding that it's even happened. And so, as an astronomer, it is really interesting, this thought experiment of what happens if something like that from another civilization comes into our solar system. Would we even know?
Yeah, I thought that was such a great point that you made in your paper that we ourselves have sent these probes out. And this poster that we're looking at here is by UK astronomer and artist Guy Ottewell, and it shows the 5 spacecraft from Earth, the Pioneers 10 and 11, and the Voyagers 1 and 2, and New Horizons, all of which are headed out from our solar system into interstellar space. So the link to be able to purchase this poster is in the post notes if anybody's interested. It's a very cool poster.
It's excellent.
Yeah, it's really nice. And so what would it take? I mean, how will we know? How would we be able? So it's not coming particularly close to Earth. It is coming pretty close to Mars. And I wondered if the Mars Reconnaissance Orbiter might be able to maneuver into position to be able to get a picture. Do you know if that's going to happen?
I believe so. They're investigating potential assets that are already at Mars. So the reconnaissance orbiter, potentially, as well as the rover that is on the surface, could potentially see it, depending on the angle, which I think is a really exciting possibility. To have imaged an interstellar object from a craft that we've put on another planet would be just brilliant if it is able to be done. That would be around October when it makes that closest approach. So I really hope that we are able to do that. But how would we actually know? I think, like, what is that smoking gun? How could we actually tell if, say, it was a probe or it was something interesting that's not just a beautiful comet or asteroid? And
Well,
the
I mean,
main
what if it looked like this? Oops, you're not in this scene. Here you are. Yeah. I mean, what if we saw it and it had, like, lights on its wings or something like that?
That would be a dead giveaway, I think. If we saw something like that whizzing on through.
That would be pretty mind-blowing, but probably that won't happen.
Oh, it's exceptionally unlikely. I'm an optimistic skeptic. I think that life exists out there in the universe. It has to. The universe is so beautifully big and enormous, and we exist. So it's not crazy to think that other things exist out there. And I really, really hope that they do. the universe is also just unfathomably big, just it's enormous. So this object here, I actually did the calculation to figure out, how long would it take for one of like for this to actually reach another star system. Just in my mind, I was trying to figure out, it's obviously moving very, very fast, but how long is it actually going to take? And for it to reach, in theory, it's not heading in this direction, but if it was to reach, say, Alpha Centauri, so about 4.2 light years away, it would take 18,000 years, which is an enormous amount of time, an object traveling already an enormous speed. And so all of those things pieced together with the likelihood of us actually seeing something from another civilization is very low, which kind of breaks my heart. But,
Well, there could be, there could be space arcs. I mean, like I'm a huge science fiction fan. And so
yeah, me too.
Oh, cool. So do you know Adrian Tchaikovsky?
Yes.
Yes. So his book, Children of Time, I think has the best depiction of star to star travel of anyone, because he talks about these huge arcs where there's people in arcs, and these generations are passing, and some of the people are in, I don't know if they call it suspended animation,
like
or
stasis.
Yeah. Or something. Yeah, they're asleep, and the narrator keeps waking up, and every time he wakes up, everything's different aboard the ark. Like different things are happening because all this time is passing. So it's a very cool book. Adrian Tchaikovsky, Children of Time. Wonderful book.
I really enjoyed that book, and I listened to the audiobook of that one actually as I work and as I program. It was really good. Another sci-fi recommendation for anyone who is interesting, there's a series called it's by Becky Chambers, I believe her name is, and the first book in the series is called A Long Way to a Small Angry Planet. And it is one of my favorite sci-fis I've ever read. It's so warm, it's so interesting, but they have a way of doing like interstellar travel in that way too, and it's really interesting.
Oh, how great. Thank you for that recommendation. That is so great. Well, okay, so I'd love to sit here and talk about sci-fi with you. Back to 3i Atlas.
Yes.
So this is a Hubble Space Telescope image of it. So you can see that, we can't see it very well. Do you know about this image? Can you explain this image?
Yeah, so what we're seeing here is this is an image of the patch of sky that the object is traveling through. And so everything that looks white or yellow are stars or galaxies or objects that are not moving. The color band that you can see going through there is our object. That's 3i Atlas. And this is in different, what we call filter bands. So say you're taking a picture with only blue light or red light or green light to try and understand, what does this look like over time? What does its characteristics change? So we can often, or we do it a lot in astronomy, is we characterize things based on their color. And when colors change, it means something interesting is happening, whether there's new gas or a different type of temperature on the surface. Really interesting things like that. And so these colors are telling us a little bit, but it's also showing us just how quickly it is moving across the sky, which is really interesting. I believe they've also tried to get spectra with the Very Large Telescope, and there's a few other telescopes that are working to determine what data can they get. This is beautiful. So this image and this data that we're able to get here, it's starting to show potentially that there could be something around it, like it could be gas, it could be a plume, it could be debris, similar to what we would expect from a comet, something that's icy or a very water-rich body. And there's speculation at the moment, will we actually see it become a true blue comet, where we get that beautiful long coma, a beautiful long tail, as it gets closer to the sun and as that water is able to heat up, or will we not? And that will tell us even more about it, even more about what its composition likely is. So in the next couple of months, as it heads towards October, which is where it makes its perihelion, so it comes close enough to the sun, closest approach to the sun before it heads on out again, I really, really hope that we do start to see a really, hopefully pretty grand tail. And the really interesting thing, I think, is as it gets quite close to Mars, there is the potential that people might be able to see this with decent amateur equipment as well. That's still to be determined on how bright it actually is, but that's a good thing to keep in mind is where it is on the sky, and if you have equipment to potentially go and try and spot it.
And we do have an article about this object at earthsky.org, and we have some charts in there that show where the object will be. We don't know if it'll be bright enough to see through amateur telescopes, but if it is, we've got some charts showing where it will be.
Yeah, and
So I did speak a week or so ago to University of Oxford astronomer Matthew Hopkins,
yeah,
and there are just a few astronomers at this point working on these three objects that have come into our solar system from other star systems. And
yeah,
he did describe 3I Atlas as a comet and a
yeah,
really old one, a 7 billion-year-old comet is what his
yeah,
most recent paper has suggested.
yeah.
He also, I wanted to show this image.
Yes,
Yes, this one.
Hopkins modelled that it potentially came from our thick disk, which would just suggest that its age could be, that 7 billion year figure is an estimate at the moment, but potentially, depending on where in that thick disk, so the oldest stars in our galaxy it might have come from, it could potentially even be older, which is a remarkable thing that this object is not only older than our entire solar system, older than our sun, older than anything we know here, but it could be significantly older than what we can even fathom. And it could have left its star system a very, very, very long time ago, which
And
is incredible.
it's it's really interesting to see this diagram because
Yeah,
the yellow here is indicating the sun's path. This is the Milky Way galaxy as viewed from the side. And I believe this is from the Gaia spacecraft because you can see that the Milky Way looks a little warped here, which was a
yes,
result from Gaia. So the red is the 3I Atlas's path, and it's kind of doing this in the galaxy. It's kind of swooping up and down in the galaxy, which, hey, if I were an extraterrestrial civilization going to send out a probe to explore the galaxy, that's what I would do. I would
yeah,
have it go like this
go
through the
up and down.
galaxy. So I think that's a pretty cool thing.
It
Uh,
is
so,
pretty cool.
so what do you think, Sarah? What does this suggest to you?
Oh, I'm firmly on that. It's a very interesting, very old, very beautiful comet from another solar system. And that in itself is fascinating because how did it get enough velocity to escape whatever system it was in? It
Yeah.
likely either got kicked out through like a really interesting like gravitational like misbalance. And we see that this is possible potentially with Jupiter and some of our Trojan asteroids. There's been some interesting papers modeling what would actually happen to fling something out of our solar system. Or even more extreme and probably even more exciting is that this poor object was in a system where the central star, it could have been in a binary, we're not quite sure, but one of the stars exploded. Massive supernova, massive amounts of shock waves, and debris being flung about the galaxy, which I think is a very epic theory, and we'll never really know for sure, but it is interesting to think about.
And Matthew gave me a third possibility, which was that as a less massive star aged, it wouldn't lose mass explosively in a
Yes,
supernova, but it might lose mass in other ways. And if it
like a
lost
planetary
mass,
nebula.
like a planetary nebula, and if it lost mass, then its gravitational hold on its Oort cloud would become less, and the comets would just
Fling off.
basically be let go,
Yeah,
in a more gentle way.
very more gentle, which is
Right.
interesting because that will probably happen to our own solar systems because our sun's not going
Yes.
to die in a big explosion. It will just fade away to a planetary nebula. White dwarf will be left behind. But how interesting that some of the comets, some of the very long period comets that we know likely come from our Oort cloud, might also go visit some of our stellar neighbours in quite a few billion years' time to come.
And I did want to mention, but we're going to have to get out of here, but I did want to mention this observatory, the Vera
Yes.
C. Rubin, the wonderful Vera C. Rubin Observatory that has just achieved first flight. And when I spoke to Matthew, he said that this observatory is expected. It's also it moves very fast. Like the telescope just slews around from object to object very fast, and it can scan the whole sky in some like 3 days or I forget how long, but some
3 days. It's
is it
immense.
3
Yeah.
days? Yeah. So it's like, it's expected to identify maybe 50 of these interstellar objects over the next 10 years. Of course,
Yeah.
nobody knows, right? It could be 100, it could be 1,000, or it could be 3 more, who knows?
Yeah.
But I think that's very cool.
Oh, it's going to be, Rubin is going to give us an incredible amount of new discoveries and exciting data. And, there's probably been many interstellar objects that have passed within the bounds of our solar system that we just haven't been able to see. Our telescopes weren't pointed in the right direction, or the ones that were didn't see faint enough. And so I personally, I cannot wait for Rubin to start its all-scale survey, and I can't wait to start working on the data that is going to be coming from that telescope as well.
Sara, thank you so much for joining us today. What an interesting conversation.
Thank you for having me.
I'd love to have you come back. So I have been speaking with Dr. Sara Webb, who's an astrophysicist and a science communicator, and we can tell you're a science communicator because you're very good at explaining things. Thank you.
Thank you very
And
much.
you are in Melbourne, Australia. Where can people find you on the web?
They can find me at Sara Webb Science, anywhere that you consume social media, and you can also just Google Dr. Sara Webb and my website, and everything like that will pop on up.
That is so great. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
We are EarthSky, and I'm Deborah Byrd, and we're here every weekday at midday in North America. And if you enjoy hearing directly from scientists, please do us a favor, subscribe, like, and share. One Earth, one sky, EarthSky.